Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ash
Powered by
Gracie
Riverside
podcast.
FM.
In life, we tend to meet a wide variety of people. Some tend to say that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime. When we meet people, we tend to be full of hope that everyone we meet will stay in our lives forever. I know that I'm the same way. And when I lose friends in my life, I have a hard time dealing with it. However, unfortunately, we live in a world where people will always come and go, and some people aren't meant to stay in our lives forever. Something that I think a lot of people have trouble coming to terms with is that people grow, and oftentimes there comes a point where people grow apart and aren't meant to be in each other's lives anymore. This can usually happen after a particular life chapter or after a lesson that has been learned from one or both parties. What I've come to realize, and this is what I really want to speak on today, is that there are two types of people that we tend to meet in life. The first type is people that, when we meet them, we immediately see them as better than ourselves and idolize them to an extent. With these people, we tend not to realize immediately that we are idolizing them as much as we are. But what ends up happening is that once we idolize certain people and once we treat them with a sense of respect or a sense of desire to get to know them, we end up treating them slightly differently because we want to spend more time with them and we want to get to know them. And this is not something that is always intentional from the beginning. I don't think people go into friendships and relationships with the intention that they're going to treat somebody differently because we see them in a certain light or we have the desire to get to know them or we idolize them in a certain way. But what this does essentially is that it sets up a relationship that is not standing on even ground from the beginning. And what I mean by that is that once we have the intention to spend time with somebody for a particular reason, whether there's something about them that is fascinating to us, or if there's something that we want to learn from them, or we want to be more like them, we start to subconsciously make more of an effort in our everyday lives, whether that is going out of your way to spending more time with them, going to places you wouldn't usually go to in your day to day because they might be there, um, and just kind of setting a precedent in regards to our desire to get to know them. And that kind of starts to affect our day to day in regards to our relationship with said person. And it also means that we have a solid ground of where we stand in terms of our desire to get to know them. But this also comes without their desire to go to get to know us equally in place. And because that is the way that relationship is established from the beginning, it can oftentimes evolve to a very mutually unhealthy friendship or relationship. Not all the time. There are definitely a lot of times that it becomes healthy and there's a lot of communication to be had. And even though you guys started off on unsolid ground, you guys can kind of figure it out, figure out what works for you guys in your friendship and your relationship. But there are definitely sometimes with certain people that I've been friends with where I realized a lot later on that I was always the one initiating because I started initiating at the beginning of the friendships, and the precedent of me initiated things became a constant, which is not something that I expected, but because I had started off that way, things kind of evolved where that became a constant to our friendship. And therefore, the friendship ended up being more one-sided because of the way that it was established in the very beginning. And it's definitely never intentional when it happens, but looking back at some of the people that I currently am friends with now, or even just people that I what used to be friends with in the past, I'm noticing that a lot of the friendships that I've been in have been slightly more one-sided because of the nature of me approaching people that I already had the existing desire to get to know. It really just depends on how you put your energy and whether the other person in your friendship or relationship is going to reciprocate in the same way. Because if they do, then you're all fine and there's no problems. But if they don't, the friendship or relationship might be strained and taking up a lot more of your space and energy than you would think or expect. And that's when things start not to be as healthy as you would kind of hope and expect. So that's like the first kind of type of person that I feel people tend to meet in life. And the second is the kind of person where you don't really see the friendship or relationship coming. It's not that there's any sort of strong intention or desire. You don't meet them and be like, I need to get to know this person. I want to be their friend kind of thing. It's more about you guys are in the same place at the same time. You have a routine, you see each other for whatever reason, you get connected for whatever reason. And the thing about these friendships, the way that you know you found these people are when things are naturally just easy, and when things are more easy, conversation is more natural. It's more natural to plan things. And the effort and emphasis is put on both sides of the friendship in terms of making sure you make plans and keeping yourselves in communication and creating a healthy relationship for the two of you. And I feel like these are the friendships that are sometimes seen as low maintenance because there's a lot more effort put into the friendships that where you have a strong desire to get to know someone. So you want to, in a way, impress them. And with these other friendships, because you don't have that sense of needing to impress anyone, there's a lot less of an emphasis kind of placed on that. Because they're more low maintenance, it's like a different form of effort that is placed on them. And I think sometimes it's those friends who, at least for me, I've realized that it's those friends who have ended up being the ones that are there for me when I need it and are the more important ones in my life right now, rather than the ones that I've spent so much of my time chasing. So I hope that's a little bit of food for thought for y'all this week. I feel like there's so many different types of people that you meet in your life, and that it's so interesting to reflect on the different types of relationships and like what they mean and how that can help you grow as a person and what kind of people you want to kind of build relationships with in the future. So, anyway, that's all for this week. I hope that you took something away and have something to think about for the week. And as always, don't forget that you are amazing, you are loved, and I thank you for being here.